we're going to keep on this conversation of election integrity, and no better person to do that than our next guest. Gina Swoboda is the executive director of the Voter Reference Foundation. If you have not checked these guys out, they are doing some of the best data analysis and integrity investigative work anywhere in the country. Please join and welcome me with Gina Swoboda. Gina, great to have you on.
Thank you so much, John. It's great to be back.
VoteRef.com. I've got it bookmarked on my site. I check it often. What was the inspiration for this?
So after the last cycle, our founder, Doug Truax, took a look around at the country and the lack of confidence in the process that our citizenry had, and said, what can we do to bring confidence back to the people? And as always, transparency is key in any aspect of government function, and we don't have that. We just simply don't have that with regard to the voter rolls. There were hundreds of millions of ballots sent out by mail to voter lists that are less than great, frankly, in the way they've been maintained, and whether that's funding or sloppiness, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. The bottom line is ballots are going out to voters that perhaps should not be on the list. So in order to increase confidence, to try to encourage voter list maintenance, the Voter Reference Foundation was created. It is our hope that eventually the chief election officials in all 50 states will publish the voter rolls themselves in real time, so people can see the activity. That's the goal. And until we get there, on VoteRef.com, I'm publishing every state their voter rolls. I update it every quarter, and I'm going to do that forever. That's for free. That's for the public's use, and that's the mission.
Such an important thing, and making this. What's great, election data. You always used to be this mysterious thing. Like, where do I go to get it? Where look? You go to the site voteref.com. It's right there. It's sitting right in front of you. You can check up the states. It is really a remarkable data set for journalists, everyday Americans. Really a delight and a great public contribution to this moment in history. I want to go to this moment in history and take a look at, have we really addressed enough of the issues that came up in the 2020 election? How much danger is America in of having a repeat of some sort of 2020 and 2022 and 2024?
I would say that if we do not do two things, there are two things that absolutely must happen that are top of the list. There are others, but the top two are, one, the voter lists absolutely have to get cleaned up. I mean, they just do. And two is to restore the confidence of the public, or they will not vote. And so to get to number two, you have to get through number one. So we have a couple of issues where absentee balloting, in some states it's mail ballots, in other states it's absentee ballots. Again, because they're generated off voter lists that are not as clean as they otherwise could be, there are ballots being issued. The chain of custody gets broken. We have drop boxes that, in my personal opinion, are unsecured, scattered throughout the country, and this leads to issues. We had a report come out about Maricopa County, about Georgia.
We made it big in Just the News. It was such a big number. It was shocking.
Exactly. So, if you have unsecured drop boxes that are not under surveillance, that are not manned lifetime by two poll workers of two different parties, of the two major parties, which is how we like to do things, then really your ballots are not secure. You don't have meaningful chain of custody, and you can't guarantee the results of that election to the confidence of the public. And we know that because that's what the public has said. The determination was made by the people that they did not have confidence in what happened last time. We saw that in Georgia last time, and we need to take action to ensure that doesn't happen again. So cleaning up the rolls to make sure less ballots are going out to people that they frankly don't live at those addresses. And it's a combination, John, where third-party organizations, I'll just randomly pick one, the Voter Participation Center. They send out pre-populated absentee ballot applications across the country. They sent out over 12 million in the last cycle. A lot of times they're using an older voter list. So pre-populated postcards or absentee ballot applications are going to addresses for people that do not live there with all the information already filled out. So, if somebody decides to sign those and mail them back in, now you have a situation where election offices are getting inundated with literally millions of these applications. And there is a great potential for ballots to be sent to people at addresses where those people no longer reside. You know, it's a problem. I mean, I'm very excited to hear about the subpoenas that were issued in Georgia today. That's just huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you talk to the experts, and you're one of them, dirty voter rolls, outdated voter rolls are like the launch pad for fraud. If you have that situation, fraud becomes eminently easier. It doesn't mean it's always going to happen, but you've created the scenario where it becomes a heck of a lot easier to make that happen. And in Georgia, Brad Raffensperger openly admits they didn't clean their rolls in 2020 because they had so many elections back to back to back that they didn't have that 90-day window that the federal law does now. Back in the days when these laws were created, we only had one or two elections. Now it seems like runoffs and special elections. Do we need to go back and take a look at that window? Is that window maybe too restrictive to clean a roll? I mean, why can't we clean a voter roll every 30 days? Why not do it every 30 days?
I absolutely think we do. So I say this all the time, the zeitgeist, if you will, of the public and of our government officials over the past 25 to 30 years, it's been about expansion of the franchise, bringing the vote to more people, which is a great and good and beautiful thing. But you must maintain the rolls and take the other names of the people who are no longer there or are no longer eligible off, or what you have is what I would say we have today, which is the Hotel California, where you get on the list and then you can't get off the list. And to your point about Georgia and what Secretary Raffensperger said, if you have back-to-back elections, special elections in a cycle, okay, so now you're in a situation, like let's say you're in a state that has ballot measures. So if I'm in Arizona and I want to make sure Arizona doesn't clean up the voter roll, there's a way that I can do that. Like I can, put ballot measures on for special elections. If I get enough signatures, I'll block that 90-day National Voter Registration Act window in which, people can't do voter roll maintenance within that window. It was designed, I believe, with good intentions to prevent what some people refer to as purges. I refer to it as cleaning the voter roll.
Yeah.
Somebody
spent a lot of time coming up with the word purge because, it gives you a different sense of what's really going on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we launched a new product, if you will, on the voterreferencefoundation.com site. So it's a different site from my VoteRef site. VoteRef's where you go to look at the voter registration data and the history data. Yeah. Voterreferencefoundation.com. I've got an absentee ballot tracker now. And I've got 3 states loaded for the primary. I'm going to add 2 more. So if you go to voterreferencefoundation.com, top of the page, you see absentee ballot tracker. If you click there, it's going to open up an interface where you can select from a drop-down of states. So let's stay on Georgia. You select Georgia, and then you pick a county. And I look at Fulton County every day.
That's probably a good one to look at.
That's an interesting county. The Secretary of State, of Georgia said, hey, we have a problem. Let's put Fulton into receivership so we can run their elections and give them a hand. Then you select a precinct, and it will populate a list of every voter in that precinct who was mailed an absentee ballot. It'll show you their name, their address, their party, when they requested the ballot, if the ballot came back, when it came back, and when it was processed. So it's a way to monitor in live time. That gets updated every day, every morning, first thing in the morning. We update that data. And in the general election, we'll have more states. I'm adding Nevada and Michigan shortly. Wisconsin will populate with their June 23rd is when their early ballots drop. Right now, Georgia and North Carolina live. And you can look at the Wisconsin, the recent jurisdictionals they had. I find the Green Bay results fascinating. So it's
you and I
usually important, right?
Yeah.
It's usually important for people to be able to see the ballots going out and the ballots coming back. And if you're on the ground in Georgia and you're interested in the results of the primaries, which I know millions of people in Georgia are, you might wish to look at those returns to see if your precinct or your ward that you're in, that you're sitting in, have your friends sent back their ballots. Yeah. I mean, the political parties traditionally are the only people that look at that data.
That's right, because we're getting out the vote, right?
Yeah, they're getting out of the vote, but the people need to see it as well.
What an amazing public service. By the way, I use this all the time. I love this. This is a great contribution to American democracy and to the constitutional republic that we are. So dirty voter rolls are part of it. Now let's talk about that ballot harvesting, because I think there are three emerging issues, the voter rolls being the first one. The second one is, it appears now, whether you're in Green Bay, Wisconsin, or a nursing home in Wisconsin, Arizona, where Brnovich has found a bunch of harvesters, and now we have this big, giant investigation in Georgia that Raffensperger State Elections Board, the career people, are doing. Has harvesting become sort of the cheating way to get out the vote? Are we starting to see this as a scarier, new type of tactic that uses coercion and breaks the chain of custody for ballots to get more votes in for the Democrats?
Yeah, I think that's a very real issue. And so, traditionally, right, in our country, we have the secret ballot. There's a reason for that. We vote in person, but our ballot is secret. We did not always have the secret ballot. And when we did not have the secret ballot, when people could come and, watch you vote publicly, like who you're voting for, that was a problem because of coercion. So the issue we have now is particularly post-COVID, right? So in the COVID cycle, a lot of states that have never done mail voting before sent ballots to everyone. I'm looking at you, Nevada. So, and Nevada's decided that was such a great experience that they're going to do it again.
Why not repeat the chaos, right?
I don't know why they want to do that. But I would say yes. So people that perhaps are more political than process oriented think this is great. Let's mail everyone a ballot. The easier you make it to vote, the more votes you get from people in particular parties that maybe don't want to make the effort to go down to the polls. That's, again, expanding the franchise is a great thing. People should participate in their governance. However, if you don't secure those ballots, we end up with this what in effect could be used as a giant operation to push votes, to go door to door, as they were doing in California.
Of course.
Hey, Jerry, I understand you're up for, that contract for that bid. It would be a shame if you didn't get it.
Yep. Coercion. Brad Raffensperger said this just a few minutes ago on the podcast. He said, listen, one of the biggest problems with ballot harvesting is that people start to put pressure on people to vote or to vote a certain way. And that's exactly what we don't want in America.
Exactly. This is a sacred right that people have died for and fought for, and that should be protected. And leaving people exposed to coercion and trafficking. In Arizona, we consider that ballot trafficking. We have a bill that's live right now by our House Representative Jake Hoffman.
This is in Arizona, right? Yeah.
Yep, in Arizona State Legislature. And the unfortunate thing is, so we had a situation in Arizona. The original bill, when it was moved in the House, would have required that there be two live poll workers at the box, right, two different parties, and that the box be locked when the polling stations were closed. There were, frankly, Republicans that wouldn't put that on the floor. Okay, so then the bill was amended to say, all right, why don't we have, surveillance and lock the box at 7 o'clock when the polls close for early voting? And again, they said no. So now we're down to, okay, how about we just have surveillance on the box? Can we have a film on the box? I believe that Catherine Engelbrecht of True the Vote, in her investigatory work, she acquired films of
I've seen
ballot
them.
boxes.
I went through hours of them.
Right on. So if you have a situation where they're taping over the tape every day, or there's no tape at all,
right,
that's an invitation to fraud.
That's right.
And while I
no deterrence at all.
Yeah, exactly. Why open a hole in the system and encourage people to do bad things? You just don't do that.
Yep.
So I agree with you 100%, John.
All right, and then let me give you one more, because we now know New York City's going to do it, and San Francisco's already done it. Chicago's talking about doing it. There's a couple communities in Vermont, 8 or 9 in Massachusetts, and that is letting foreigners vote, at least in local elections. There is a push in particularly liberal states to give the extraordinary right of voting to non-citizens, at least in local. Right now, federally, it's forbidden, but there's a twist that occurred. We've been covering it over the last couple of weeks here. I spent some time writing about it myself personally, and that is Stacey Abrams has a federal lawsuit going on in Atlanta right now, trying to declare as illegal, unconstitutional, the citizenship check, that as part of your registration, part of your voting, it's okay to ask you for your citizenship to make sure you're lawful to vote. What's going on? Why would Democrats and Stacey Abrams want to get rid of the citizenship voter ID check if they're not up to something bigger?
So I think that's a disgraceful concept. This is a fault line for me. You must be a citizen of the United States in order to participate in our elections to determine who is governing us. That's already in U.S. code. Arizona passed Proposition 200 several years ago, over a decade ago, and we required that in order to register to vote, you had to be a citizen. So our cases worked their way up to the Supreme Court, and what Justice Scalia said in the Intertribal Council decision was, okay, Arizona, to register people on your state voter registration form, you may require proof of citizenship, and that's called documented proof of citizenship, or DPOC in the elections community. However, on the federal form, which is designed by the Elections Assistance Commission, which is a federal agency, if you want them to add proof of citizenship, you have a remedy other than us issuing an order. You have to go to them and try these other methods, tell them, hey, please put an asterisk, Arizona, you need proof of citizenship. Okay. So we tried that. We tried that for over a decade. And the EAC, and they're great and good people. It's a great organization for a variety of reasons, has not done it. Well, so the Arizona legislature just passed a bill that Governor Ducey signed into law. It's House Bill 2492. It requires on all forms from anyone in the state of Arizona to register to vote, you must be a citizen. We immediately got the litigation filed there.
Of course you did.
From the usual suspects. And that's going to work its way up to the Supreme Court. And I believe that we will win in the Supreme Court because we did what the Supreme Court asked us to do. We tried to work with federal agencies to require that they honor what the people of Arizona voted for and amended our Constitution to say, which was that you must be a citizen. It's a really bad idea. You're encouraging people who are not fully invested in the fabric of our country. I'm not saying they don't want to be citizens, and once they are citizens, then they are welcome to vote. But you have to be a citizen of the country in order to participate in its elections. There's no other country on the face of the earth that allows non-citizens to participate in their elections process. And it's actually very insulting to all of the people that came here and worked hard and became citizens. It's a really big day when you become a citizen. I'm a deputy registrar with Maricopa County. I've been at the citizenship ceremonies. It's beautiful. People take a beautiful oath. They are moved beyond words that they've been welcomed to this country that they love, and they are honored that they are finally able to register to vote. What Stacey Abrams is doing here is going to encourage people in other areas to do it, and it's a felony in the states right now. And then you're jeopardizing someone's ability to actually become a citizen. Because that's also, John, a problem with automatic voter registration.
Oh, absolutely.
If people get registered to vote and they're not eligible to vote and they didn't ask to be registered to vote, you can wind up with someone committing a felony without even knowing it.
Yep.
And that could prevent them from the very thing that we wish to help them do, which is to become a citizen. So, yeah, it's just a terrible idea. I believe that the Arizona case will be upheld by the Supreme Court, and that can just put an end to this kind of nonsense.
Yeah. And, of course, the Supreme Court last session upheld Arizona's anti-harvesting law. So at least in Arizona now there is a model law for the rest of the country to pursue. All right, as you look out now, we've got the big 2022 election. Congress is up for grabs, and then right after that, we're going to have the next presidential election. Doesn't seem possible, but we're coming up on that already. Gina, what are the vulnerabilities that the RNC, the campaigns, the election regulators should be closing down now? I mean, what are some of the places where you just say, we got to put a mark in this? We talk about ballot harvesting. We got that. We got cleaning the dirty rolls. But are there any tactics particularly related to these ballot drop boxes? It seems like Wisconsin, the courts say no ballot drop boxes, and the election regulators say, no, we're going to use them anyways. How do you solve an issue like that?
Right. So that's a great question, John. So there's a conflict, and we saw that in 2020. So The statutes say one thing. When you can get the court to rule, they say, yeah, this is absolutely unlawful. And then your Elections Commission, in the case of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, although I want to give a shout out, Bob Spindell seems to be a really great public servant, and he did try to stop a lot of things that happened in Wisconsin in 2020. But the majority of the board just continues to tell clerks to effectively ignore the law. So when you're in that kind of situation, your observers are key, your poll workers are key. Our interested Americans doing their civic duty need to participate as a poll worker. In the Virginia election, Fairfax County, the registrar in Fairfax County randomly decided to take the third-party absentee ballot applications we were discussing earlier. Right. It is state law in Virginia that the last 4 digits of the Social Security number must be filled out on that absentee ballot application, or you may not process it. Well, Fairfax County clerk's like, you know what? I think I'm going to ignore that law, and we're just going to start to process these and send out these absentee ballots. Because there was a poll worker there who saw what was happening and alerted the Republican National Lawyers Association and the RNC, said, hey, they're accepting these, then there was an ability to file a suit. Now, the way that wound up, the great people at Public Interest Legal Foundation sought to intervene, and a judge said, we don't think you have standing. It would have to be a candidate. But by that time, being aware that they were under scrutiny, they stopped. So you have to be in it to win it, as they used to say in the lotto in New York City. If you don't participate, you
ain't getting in on the winnings. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have to be there. We have to be everywhere. I would say a huge thing that's a real problem right now is President Biden issued an executive order instructing every single federal agency, of which there are way too many, to begin voter registration efforts. And what they're going to do in every state, these federal agencies exist as sort of an outpost within the state, not subject to state restrictions with regard to voter registration. So, for example, the Department of Gaming, the Department of Agriculture, random divisions that have nothing whatsoever to do with the elections process are going to begin using federal funds to register voters. And the person who is and they're going to partner with, quote, third-party organizations. So who are the third-party organizations that are going to work out of federal outposts within the states to register voters? Well, the way to get approved for that process is to go through Susan Rice in the White House. So Susan Rice is going to approve who are the third-party organizations that are going to work with federal government agencies to register voters in these outposts within every state in this country. So the way to prevent potentially your state laws that you work hard as a state and you pass legislation and you're closest to the people and the government closest to the people understands the people's needs the best. That's the model of our government. Well, if you don't want federal agencies registering folks to vote, and I'm not talking about social services or motor vehicle, that's already covered by the National Voter Registration Act. I'm talking about every single other federal agency. Then you need to talk to your chief election official in your state. So that would be, for example, Secretary Raffensperger. If Secretary Raffensperger doesn't approve them coming into Georgia and operating out of every federal agency in Georgia, then they can't do it. So that's a huge issue that's developing now, and people need to keep an eye on that and reach out to their chief election official. But please, everybody, be a poll worker, be a poll observer, talk to your legislators, help them pass strictures around these ballot drop boxes, and help us help you clean up the voter rolls. That's what we can do.
Yeah, it's such an amazing opportunity for us to regain confidence in our election. We're the greatest democracy and constitutional republic in the world, and right now the rest of the world's looking at us saying, hey, what's going on in America? Why can't they count their votes right? And it seems like this moment is before us. Everyone can pitch in and make a big difference. And I'm excited to see that happen. Gina, what's the best way to stay in touch with all the great stuff you're doing at the Voter Reference Foundation and all the work that you do personally?
Thank you. Please keep checking an eye on our site, VoteRef, VOTEREF.com, and VoterReferenceFoundation.com. And you can email us anytime at info@VoterReferenceFoundation.com, and we'll get back with you right away. We're super excited about the work. We're pushing out the data just as fast as we can process it in a good, fine, detailed, fine-tuned way. I did just want to give a shout out to West Virginia's amazing Secretary of State. We released West Virginia today, and they were so wonderful, John. That's Mac Warner and his Deputy Secretary of State, and their team worked with us to, make sure we had the data that we needed, and they were just open and transparent and cooperative, and they're a model for how this should go. And if people want to reach out regarding the federal legislation on non-citizens voting, Congressman Rodney Davis out of Illinois is working on a bill.
We had him on this show just a couple of weeks ago. He's moving it hard.
So there are things that can be done. And listen to Just the News, because thank you for keeping everybody informed. We appreciate all that you do.
We love doing it. This is such an important topic, and we all are better when we trust our elections. And right now there's a lot of distrust, so we got to solve that problem. And I know that's what you're on the front lines doing, Gina. Thank you so much for the time. I learned a lot to take in and a lot to learn. And this was a great conversation. Can't wait to get you back on real soon.